This is your boy is Nefarious, and we are here for another edition of our League Report, Premier Madden League Report. This week I have my imaginary friend back on. If you remember when we did our game reviews, it was just me talking to myself. Hopefully he has his mic on this time so you guys could hear him as well. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
What's going on? It's Rob Bills, and I hope you guys can hear me at least.
I don't have the stream up, so I can't really say that you are definitely there, but I could hear you, and we're gonna just roll with it and hope that it's actually happening.
Fuck it.
All right, everybody. Today we got a little special kind of content for you. We're gonna run through each team's wasted talent. When we say wasted talent, we're talking about somebody that's underperforming or somebody that is just downright not used. That could be a problem in a different system or a problem for a different problem with a different user using that player. So we'll go division by division, and we'll start with the AFC East and then finish with the NFC South. But let's get this ball rolling. Let's start with the New York Jets.
Alright, so for the Jets, um, I had Sam Darnold just because he's sitting behind, uh, he's sitting behind Jared Goff, and I mean, Sam Darnold was the franchise for the Jets, and we got the new user, so he had his big off season, but I think Goff was kind of a wasted signing since you do have Darnold, and he's still really young, 24. He could easily be doved, but he just kind of built on him, and he's just sitting there. So, and he obviously can't be traded this season. So I think he's kind of just wasted, especially when you have guys like Vikings and Bengals using guys that are a lot worse than Darnold. Like, you could give some value for him.
Yeah, Sam Donald. The one hit, well, a couple of things on him is the throw power is only at 91 and the deep accuracy is only at 74. But like you were saying, it seems like he never really developed him. I don't really say it's Sam Donald's fault, like his development. I think it's just because Jets wasn't active in the league when we first started this.
Yeah.
So he's been in and out, in and out. He's been in enough where he hasn't been kicked out of the league, and then he's been out long enough where he's not really developing his team or building his team to his needs. Um, he's been here since season one, right?
I think we might have got somebody new a couple seasons back. Like you said, he's kind of been in and out, so it hasn't really felt that he's been here since like
For long.
it feels like he's only been here since like last offseason, honestly.
Yeah, because he kind of turned it around last off season, and he's been active this year. Um, and that's really what I've noticed is he's been a lot more active, while others are panning off, like Bills Rob, if you know him.
Yeah, he sucks. 6-5. You see that game he blew against the Bucks?
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
washed up.
Yeah, it's
He's
super
washed up.
washed up. um, I'm trying to see if there's anybody else that could be up for.
This is a team that I kind of like had a hard time like looking at too. But
Yeah.
I also had his linebacker Baron Browning just because I thought he could be like a dev project. He has 84 speed, 89 excel, 88 agility. So like if you look at Vikings has Etheridge or Etheridge, whatever, I don't fucking remember his name, like, and Packers did it season one with Burks, and same with like Van Der Esch and Edmonds to a degree season one. If you
Mhm.
get a fast linebacker like that, you can dev him, and I feel like in the right hands, Baron Browning could be a real gem for some like a team if user. But I think guys like Levante David are probably taking up a lot of his spot on the roster. Let's see who else. Avery Williamson, and then they have a younger player, Dakota Allen. So he's not really getting much playing time.
Yeah, that's a good pick too. He has good size as well. So he has both the speed and the size, and it looks like he's more of a downhill running back. I mean, linebacker, because he's got good pursuit. I think the block shedding was decent. Right now, I'm looking at his offensive line to see if there's anybody there, but there's really never anybody in the offensive line you could say is, for what do you call it, not performing well. But Barrick Browning is a good choice, a good backup choice. Um, there's something I wanted to talk about. Yeah, that's another thing. He doesn't like to use a linebacker in coverage. I've noticed with him, he's either on the safety or he's on the corner. He's on the outside corner, which is weird. It's different. It throws you off a little bit, but I think he really would get a lot more interceptions if he played the middle a little more.
Yeah, I have yet to play Jets this season, and I think last season actually like it was like a sim game. Like I don't think I've ever played him honestly. But he has like some solid plays. Like if he was going to use her or safety, I guess Marcus May, Jamal Adams are the guys to use her. So I
Yeah,
mean,
those aren't
I'll have
bad
to see.
choices.
Right.
All right, let's move on to the everybody's favorite, the Buffalo Bills.
So what I have is, I mean, I don't know if I wouldn't say wasted talent,
Yeah, you don't waste talent. I
but
know, I know.
this year, I think that just because a really crowded wide receiver room, Chris Conley has really fallen off. Last year he had a pretty good season, and he has really good size, really good speed, um, and that's like really sought after in this league, especially. So him not really being utilized is kind of wasted. And the same thing kind of goes to Jarvis Landry, but to a lesser extent because Landry has been incorporating the offense a little more lately. But I think Chris Conley is my guy.
I given Jarvis Landry's overall and his how everybody knows him around the league, I think he would be the safer choice there, because it's not like you don't use him, but you don't use him as a top guy. Use pretty much Debo Samuel and Van Jefferson. Van Jefferson especially has been going off this season, as you predicted in preseason. Um,
Mr. Fake News.
Mr. Fake News, Van Jefferson over there. But yeah, I think Jarvis Landry, given his overall and his ability, um, he's probably wasted talent just because you're crowded at wide receiver. Another
Right.
guy I could point out is probably the rookie Shedrick Jackson. He looks like he'd be pretty good. But like you said, you're crowded at wide receiver, so you can't really play all these guys. You got all these guys, you can't play them all though.
Yeah, Cedric Jackson, he actually was a running back that I converted to wide
Hmm.
receiver, but I just never really. I think because just Van Jefferson played so well, I never really mixed him in the offense. Cause I signed a lot of receivers off season, like Jefferson, Callaway, Switzer, and then I drafted Cedric Jackson, so he just never really got incorporated in the offense.
I mean, if I were you, I would have left him at running back because right now you kind of need it with Kareem Hunt
Yeah.
being down.
And Marlon Mack now too. So
Marlon Mack's down as well. Jesus, you might want to
yeah.
cut some of these freaking wide receivers just to get a running back.
See, inside look at the Bills. We're having some cap issues.
Oh no.
So as of right now, we cannot sign any free agents.
All right, we'll talk about that when we do your team breakdown. Let's move on. Let's move on to the Dolphins now. Who do you have for the Dolphins as their wasted talent? I already got it. I know off the top of my head who I'm gonna go here.
So I said, let me see.
If I'm correct on his season stats.
I said Quinton Bohana. I don't know who that is, to be honest. Did this earlier, so I gotta find him.
Quentin,
Uh,
I think he
he
might be defense.
he's a DT. So yeah, so the reason I said Quinton Bohana is because he has Dolphins has TJ Smith and Greg Gaines at 1 and 2 for DTs, but Quinn Bohana is a 78 overall with 96 strength, 78 box shed, and 85 power move. Just like right off the bat at as a rookie, and he's not getting almost any playing time. Last games he was on, he had played two downs, and then no downs in the past 3 weeks. So for someone who that could be a really good dev project if he gets his like player and awareness up, he could be a problem with 97 strength, 85 power moves right off the rip. So
Yeah,
I thought he's underutilized.
I kind of have the same type of guy on my team.
See what I have for you.
Hold on one second. I had my wire kind of stuck on my chair and it yanked it out on me, so I was without a mic for a second there. But Quinton Bohana, I kind of have the same guy in the Patriots, Tadero Slayton, but I try to use him more. But I'm kind of stacked at defensive tackle with Malcolm Brown, Danny Shelton, and then I got Trey Flowers on the line. So I'm trying to find ways to play all these guys. That's why I was kind of trying to move Trey Flowers during the off season. But
Yeah,
go
when I was
ahead.
looking at a team, some teams it was kind of hard to find somebody who was like a sleeper kind of player. Your team was loaded with guys like that. So there's guys I was keeping the depth chart that could play still. I had like 3 guys. I was like, wow, like, I didn't even know he was on the roster, but he's solid.
Yeah, I try to incorporate all these guys. It's just like I sometimes battle with realism and just you know playing guys based on their overall and thinking that they could help a little more, and then guys that I really like and guys I want to develop and I want to give playing time to. I kind of battle with that, like sleeper guys that need to get XP for me. But as far as the Dolphins, my pick is going to be Ronald Jones.
Mhm.
Ronald Jones is a speedy back that I think in somebody else's system would be used a lot more and be way more of a dangerous weapon. When it comes to the Dolphins, I think he doesn't use them as much or use them correctly, and I think that would be a good pick for the wasted talent. I don't know your thoughts on that.
You know, when I saw Ronald Jones stats, like I had to like do a double take because for an 81 overall, he has insane stats, and he's only 24. Like the fact that this dude is not one of the MVP candidates right now just like blows my mind because with 94 speed, 95 agility, that's like top tier in the league, honestly. And then
The
he's
acceleration's
not
great
like a
too.
loose. Right, exactly, and he's not raw. Like he has good juke move, like okay spin and elusiveness. Like he has solid stats and like I'm not gonna say stat pad, but like if he were to stat pad and try to get some awards, like Ronald Jones would be one of the best backs in the league.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. With that athletic ability, he might even
Mm.
get a speed roll by now. Speed roll too, and could be possibly 95 or 96 speed, and he could be an absolute problem in the league. But I think in the Dolphin system, he's been underutilized and wasted. Let's move on to the Patriots. Your favorite user, obviously. I know you love me, so go ahead and let me know who the the wasted talent on the Patriots is.
Like I said, you had a ton of guys who I don't, like wasted. I don't think is the best word, or just like hidden the depth chart because well, the one guy that I thought would be wasted if anyone is Najee Harris. You did that right
Hmm.
up on him, explaining that he wants out of New England. So you could say that's wasted, but you did just get Bryce Love, so it's understandable. But I also said Nick Eubanks, the tight end behind Gronk,
Hmm.
and then Josh Watson. So Nick Eubanks, like for a rookie, a 77 overall rookie with actually like really solid stats, he would be he'd be a starter on most teams in this league if he wasn't sitting behind Rob Gronkowski. So um, just like my tenor right now is a 71 overall bomb, and seeing someone like you have two really solid tight ends just gets me very jealous. And then Josh Watson, let me find. So he's that linebacker,
He's
and
that
the reason I
outside
said him,
linebacker.
yeah, just because he has really solid stats, and he has a star dev, so he could be a real problem. Uh, Especially we know you with the content and everything. I'm sure he's gonna be 85 overall by the end of the season with like really good, really nice stats.
Yeah, two good picks. Especially Nick Eubanks was he was awesome in the preseason for me, and then I didn't really roll with him in the regular season. I don't know what happened. I kind of went to a blocking tight end kind of thing, because I wanted to really focus on the run, and he just recently got implemented back into the starting lineup as a second tight end in the bigger formations. Um, as far as Josh Watson, he's an outside linebacker. I use him in the left outside linebacker slot. I'm kind of battling where I want to put him because he has great pass rushing moves, but then he could play in the middle because he has good zone coverage, good man coverage, good pursuit, good block shed. Um, so I kind of battle with him as far as where I want to put him, especially since I got Vic Beasley who's playing that edge rusher kind of role in a three
Right.
four, and Josh Watson's more dropping back into coverage. He's kind of rushing sometimes, dropping back into coverage. I'm trying to do that with him. He's had a shitty beginning of the season, but he's came on strong recently. But my pick would be Najee Harris, like you said in the beginning. Ever since I got Bryce Love, I mean, I tried to implement Najee Harris, but every time I use him, he's got like 2 yards, 3 yards. I think he's averaged like 3 yards per carry on the season. It's like I can't find anything with him, so it's been more of a Bryce Love show. And then drafting Sean Shivers, who's got speed to burn, and Max Borgi, who's got a star development. It's like I mean, where do I go from there? I mean, I like Najee, but he's not really performing. I got a couple guys that could develop, and then I got Bryce Love, who's been really good for me this season. So I would say Najee Harris is the wasted talent, and it's looking like he might be traded based on the first couple of games. Ever since I wrote that article, I tried to implement him even more, and it's not happening.
Yeah, you have a pretty loaded room there, so if you can get something for Najee, and like I was saying, it seems that your team has a lot of like sleeper guys that like you have a really solid depth team. So if you get them back for Najee, it could get
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. If anything for Najee, maybe I'll go for a corner or a safety or something. Maybe somebody on defense or maybe an offensive line. We'll see what happens. There was a few teams I looked at and noticed they could really use a running back next season. Let's move on to the AFC West. AFC West, you want to start with the Kansas City Chiefs?
So the Chiefs, I had, like I said, so a lot of these teams, especially some of like the better guys, like they know how to use their talent. So like
Hmm.
it was hard to find someone who was like a wasted talent. But I said again because of just the depth in the wide receiver room, I think Sammy Watkins kind of has been left out. Um, Tariq Hill and Miko Hart make all the love because they're the speed demons and they're touchdown machines. And I think having Andrew Luck has helped helped them like in the passing game.
Hmm.
So Sammy still has solid production, but along with being injured, he just hasn't had production he's had in the past few years. So I think Sammy Watkins is my pick.
Yeah, and that's a good pick. I would stick with wide receiver, and I'd probably go Colin Johnson, the 6'6" monster. I think in a different system, somebody would use him a lot more if the room wasn't so crowded. And I think his touchdowns would probably be up there, being 6'6" and having the size and the jumping ability to get over guys. Um, let's move on to the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers, who are causing waves throughout the league this season, sitting 7-4.
Yeah, just upset the Chiefs last week too. The big wins there. I had Caleb Kelly. Um, I don't know what position he is. I find him. Let's see. Oh, he's a middle linebacker. So, 92 speed, 89 excel, 83 zone, 80 agility. Pretty solid, uh, just physical stats. And I remember this Chargers team in particular is probably one of the hardest teams, just because he doesn't have a ton of depth, and all of his players contribute. Like if you look into the stats, like even like he has a few running backs that are all getting carries. Everyone's getting carries. All of the receivers are getting catches. Like he really is using everyone on his team. So like, kudos to him for just moving the ball around, playing really good offense, defense, and showing he's upsetting teams. I said Caleb Kelly just because he is playing behind Perriman, and so he's not getting the same snaps, and he could. And like I said, same thing with other linebacker on the Jets. On another team, he might be in like a defense player of the year conversation just because of his physical stats.
Yeah, Caleb Kelly. Like you said, he's got good raw talent. He probably runs a 4.3. So that's probably another reason that he doesn't see the field as much. Um, another good pick would probably be the cornerback, Amik Robertson. He's a smaller cornerback, but I think given his speed and athletic ability, I think he could be all over the place making plays for him. And he seems like he got some raw stats, cover stats that could also help him.
Star Dev too.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Star Dev too.
Oh, and he's got a star dev. I didn't even notice that. Yeah, star dev. Wow, so he's got a good little piece there. Um, Me personally, 5'9", I wouldn't like it. I would only put him in a slot. I wouldn't want him on the outside, but I don't even. I think Natural did a thing where height doesn't even matter in this game, but that's how I feel
Yeah,
about
I'm
it.
sure.
Um, let's go on to the next team. Let's move on to the Oakland Raiders. We'll do the Oakland Raiders.
So for the Raiders,
Probably a
I
ton.
had. So for the Raiders, I did. I mean, the biggest waste of talent the Raiders ever had was Odell Beckham.
Yeah.
He traded away Odell after a big move, but that's not the real player for me. I did Daniel Jones because I was really surprised to see that his superstar quarterback, 70 overall, with really solid stats, 94 throw power, 86 mid accuracy, 92 play action, like just really solid overall stats. Superstar dev, 24 years old. he's not even playing. Teddy Bridgewater is playing right now.
Oh man,
So,
I thought he
yeah,
would be playing after he got rid of Derek Carr.
right, yeah, and it's not like he's injured either. I don't know that he's on the bench. So I
Oh
don't know what's going
man,
on there.
that's a great choice. That'd probably be the number one pick. And I was also looking at Adrian Killens Jr., who we traded for. Um,
Hmm.
Given his athletic ability, you think that's somebody he would be able to implement more as well. But Daniel Jones is the pick. Yeah, I thought after traded Derek Carr, he was ready to move on to the superstar Daniel Jones and start getting him
Yeah,
going. But since he's not, it's like, what are you doing over there? What's going on?
yeah.
And it's like watching
There's
it's like watching the Packers make moves. It's like, what are you doing?
yeah. Who knows what's going on over there? But shit.
That's nuts. That's nuts to me. Let's move on to the Denver Broncos.
Broncos. Let's see. I had Bradley Chubb just because for a team to have Von Miller and Bradley Chubb, Chubb should be putting up like double-digit sacks, and they do in Madden especially. They have a solid secondary around them with Chris Harris and some other players, but for him in what week 12 now to only have like 7 sacks, it just I'm not sure if he got injured. I hadn't really checked that, but it's just insane to me. They have a really solid team around them, and I think on another team, especially with what you see other guys doing with like Devin DNs. If you look at the AFC North with uh, what's his name, Garrett is a 9-and overall with disgusting stats. You got Lawson and you have uh, whoever else is over there for the Bengals. Who I don't know, but DMs can like really easily be dev with between content and just Madden development this year.
Yeah,
So see that he's only an 88 overall and he's not really putting up those numbers. It just I think he's kind of wasted on the Broncos right now.
yeah, that's a great pick. Bradley Chubb should be up there. I don't think he's ever really performed for him. I wouldn't mind having Bradley Chubb as an outside linebacker in my scheme. That's for sure. I'd take him all day. Even Von Miller, I don't think is. I mean, I think he should be tops in the league in sacks every year, and I don't think he ever was really up there. I've seen him before, like top 20, top 15, but he's more of a top five kind of linebacker. Maybe it's because he switched to a 4-3, and that doesn't really suit somebody like Von Miller, and I don't even think it suits somebody like Bradley Chubb. Um,
Yeah, I just think yeah. I know that when I played him, that D line, Von Miller in particular, had a field day. But I mean, that's my shitty offense with my really shitty offensive line. So
yeah, Von Miller, like I said, he gets sacks. He's more implemented than Bradley Chubb. Well, not implemented, but more he produces more than Bradley Chubb. But I think he should be leading the league in sacks almost every season, and I think that has something to do with the user as far as how he runs his defense, like the 4-3 compared to the 3-4, and maybe using aggressive pass rush in the right moments.
right.
I mean, he does have 15 sacks this season, but the leader has like 26, so he's not even close. Um, Another good pick would probably be Jordan Scarlett, who performs well but doesn't get used much. Like he only has 63 carries. Maybe that's because he's injured. Let me take a look. He
Yeah,
has a ton. Good.
another guy I had was Ty Sponsor. He's a rookie and he's another one of those guys that like just is an insane linebacker with 87 speed, 88 excel, 88, 87 agility, 87 hit power. He has 76 zones, so solid zones, 79 finesse moves, so solid on the line. But like You put that linebacker on the Ravens or the Bills or even the Patriots as to what you're doing with Devin White. Like you put it on in a more experienced user, and that might be an MVP candidate.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. He looks like he's a problem for sure. Great. It looks like he's great in the run, and given his speed and athletic ability, he'll be good in a pass even without that zone coverage as long as you user him right. So let's actually another one would probably be Darnay Holmes, another very athletic cornerback. He's got a few pieces here that could really make that defense really difficult, but it's all on the user hit after that.
He needs to hit the Patriot content camp.
Yeah, for real. Needs to hit up that content a little more. Develop some of these guys, and they'll become problems. Speaking of the Ravens, let's move on to the AFC North, and let's start with the Ravens as our first team. It's probably hard to find somebody underused in his scheme because he likes to use everybody.
Yeah, that's yeah, like we were saying earlier with like the, some guys really know how to use every little inch they have, every player they have. So the one guy I said that is underused, but it's questionable is JJ Arcega Whiteside. We know why
Hmm.
he's underused because he's 85 speed, slow as hell, but 6'3", superstar dev, and he has really good stats for a player like so so young that I mean we know that uh what you call it Cowboys changed Kelvin Benjamin over tight end, so I think if possible, I don't know the exact stats. If you could change a tight end or something, that could be like
He
he would
might.
be a top five tight end instantly.
Yeah,
Like
I think he's like 10 pounds under, but with that new Kelvin Benjamin camp, he could get him up there and get him into tight end. But that's a good pick. That's definitely the pick I would go with. Like you said, the speed's probably the one thing that hurts him. He doesn't even have good agility either. The acceleration's all
right.
right. Um, but he has good raw stats as far as catching traffic, his route running, his release, everything's good. It's like, I mean, I wouldn't mind having him to see what I could do with him, but it's like if he can't
Yeah,
do anything with,
I could see him like maybe getting a few touchdown catches in the red zone, but outside of that, it would be hard to use him in an offense.
yeah, like you said, it's and plus if he can't use him, then who could use him really? Because he's somebody that finds a usage for pretty much every player that he has. Uh, let's move on to the Cincinnati Bengals.
So the Bengals, the player I had was Demetrius Robinson. He's a running back, and I picked him because I remember this offseason, I saw him in free agency, and I specifically I went after him. And at the end of the free agency, I had the final bid, and I was ahead, and somehow he still signed him. Like just the
Madden
Madden
gods.
just yeah, he wanted to play in Cincinnati. So uh, when I saw that, and then I looked to see what he did with them. 8 downs played this week, 9 downs played last week, 3 downs played the week before, 4 week before. So he's not getting any play time, and um, that backfield is taken up, but the majority of the time by Mixon, who gets 20 plus carries a game, which understandably he's amazing. But I think Demetrius Robinson, similar to was it Ronald Jones in Miami, just he's real athletic, and I think he has solid receiving stats too. So he could be a good receiver at the backfield. But just another another offense, he might be a problem, but he's just underutilized in Cincinnati.
Oh yeah, for sure. With that great spin move, great juke move. Well, I'm saying great, but 85, 87 is pretty damn good. Especially since he's still only 23 years old. He's somebody that's definitely underutilized. Another one would probably be the guy he traded for from the Seattle Seahawks. That was in my article for sleepers or um, content-worthy guys, kind of to build. John Burt, the wide receiver, who's 6'3", almost 200 pounds, and he's got
Oh wow.
96 speed.
Yeah, definitely.
And he's got great
Yeah,
release
that's
too.
wow. Yeah, that's definitely somebody who I'm sure he get in the focus of, or he should be at least. Because yeah, he gets that. If you see like what in this year especially, you can you can give guys who aren't very high overalls, you can give them the ball and get them stats. So like when you have a guy with 96 speed like that, 92 agility with that size too, you should definitely be trying to get him the ball uh, more than he is at least because one he got a touchdown this week. Before that, nothing,
Hmm.
nothing, nothing. So that's definitely a good pick.
Yeah, that would be probably the other pick, but Robertson is definitely a big one there. Given his stats, he should be utilized a lot more. Let's go on to the Browns and see if there's anything. Wide receiver is probably the main thing since he has five guys over 80, either 80 or over. So it's like somebody's not utilized here.
Yeah, I had two guys. And actually neither of them were receivers, but I did Duke Johnson as one guy just because Chubb is the primary back in the offense, but Duke Johnson is probably one of the best receiving backs in the game, and he's not as athletic as the other guys, but he's more polished all around than some of the other guys. And then I had Anfree Jennings. He's playing end. I'm not sure if he's playing behind Miles
No,
Garrett or if he's playing
he's a
inside.
starter on the other side, and he's actually
Because
got 20 sacks this season.
yeah, see, I did not see him until I looked at his roster, and like I just when I saw him, I was like, holy shit! Like, no wonder the offensive line's insane. 95 power moves, 86 speed, 87 XL, 82 block shot. Like, he is insane.
I would say sticking with that defensive line, another good pick is probably Jordan Elliott, who's a rookie. He's got pretty good raw stats. His strength is 98. He's a 6'4",
Yeah,
322-pound defensive tackle, and that just gets me going. I love my big defensive tackles, that's for sure. Uh, but I think he's underutilized. I think he could be a great project piece for him, and could be a problem in the middle where they have Jennings and Garrett on the outside. I mean, the defensive line is sick already, but give him somebody in the middle, and it's terrifying.
yeah, that could especially if he hits the Patriots dev camp. Well, yeah, he could be
Oh
a
yeah,
problem. Gets his block shot up a little bit. That defensive line can be disgusting.
yeah, that's for sure. Let's move on to we did the Bengals, the Ravens, and the Browns. Let's go ahead and do the forgotten Steelers.
So the Steelers, he had like a weird roster just because he had like a lot of depth at some places and like none at others. So I said Sutton Smith, just because he's another one of those guys that I haven't really heard anything from. Um, because let's see, let's look at his stats. So he's a 77 DM star dev, and with 87 speed, he had no power move, but 82 finesse move, 87 XL, 80 block shed. Like, if he were to be dev like how Anfree, like he would be just as good as Anfree Jennings or some other guys. at top of the league right now if he was dev. And I know we didn't really have a Steelers user until a couple weeks back, but I think he's definitely underutilized just because he could be a real player if he was dev correctly.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. Um, a small speed defensive end, like you said, with the star development, so definitely underutilized. Should be utilized more. Maybe it's the fault of not having a user or new user coming in and not really realizing what he has there. But I would definitely be utilizing him if I had him for sure. Let's move on to the AFC South. We'll start with the Texans.
Texans, this is somebody else. I remember that their roster, like, they don't really, he hasn't really been playing, but he doesn't have a lot of depth, so that people aren't really overlooked because he just doesn't have a ton of depth. I had Derek Brown. I'm not gonna lie, I
Defensive
remember
tackle.
what position he was. DT.
Yeah, he's a
Derek
DT.
Brown. Um, there's not a lot, like, just because he could be solid if he was dev. Just like I said, there's not a lot of depth in his team that people are looking over because he has a lot of like top players. And we have a JJ Watt, a Clowney, a Tyrann Matthew, all those players that's going to take up those contracts, Sean Watson, etc. So he doesn't really have a lot of secondary guys that are deep in the depth chart. He just kind of has his top guys and plays with them.
Yeah, my pick for this team would probably be William Pohl the third. 6 foot, 95 speed, 95 acceleration, 97 agility. Even if the man coverage is low, the zone coverage, those stats are pretty raw. Definitely needs to be developed, but I think that would probably be the underutilized kind of guy. Have him out on the outside, match him up with their speed guy, and you pretty much utilize that threat right there with this guy.
Definitely could look for those DBs and low speed too. They're pretty slow.
Yeah, especially yeah, he has a lot of slow defensive backs. I mean, the bottom two are all right. The rookie Sean Schamberger is somebody else that you might want to look at, but who knows if he's in or he's out or what's going to happen. Maybe he'll be back into it next season. Next season. Let's move on to the Tennessee Titans.
I have Tennessee Titans. Wasted I had Rashad Penny. When I played him, his feature back was almost exclusively Derrick Henry. And Rashad Penny, 25, 84 overall, and he's similar to who'd I have a couple the back for who was it for? The Bengals. I don't remember his name, Demetrius Robinson, whatever. He's
Hmm.
not like a burner necessarily, but he has solid speed and he has 90 juice move, 92 elusiveness, 85 ball carrier vision, 93 carrying. So he's really solid. He's just
Yeah,
really underutilized.
yeah. With a backfield with Derrick Henry, it's tough to really get involved, especially how well Derrick Henry performs. Uh, that's a great pick, especially with the raw stats he has. I mean, he doesn't have that breakaway speed, but with that elusiveness and juke move, like you mentioned, it's tough to see why somebody wouldn't be able to really utilize him in a different offense.
Yeah.
Let's take a look. AFC. I'm trying to think of who else is in that division.
Colts and Jags.
Oh yeah, Colts and Jags. All right, let's take a look at the Colts.
So the Colts, I had Cole McDonald. Um, they traded for Pat Mahomes, and Cole McDonald, superstar dev, he was a rookie last year, is on the bench. His stats definitely need some work. Only 90 throw power, not very good deep accuracy, awareness is low, throwing runs low. Definitely need some work, but with superstar dev and the whole content dev system, I think he's pretty wasted. At least he could get some value for him. On a rookie deal, it looks like he's getting paid nothing. He must have got drafted in like the seventh because he's getting paid 500K a year. So
Yeah.
he could definitely get some value from someone.
Oh yeah, for sure. That especially with that that development, he could definitely
Hmm.
get pull somebody. Could see him getting a few rolls into his throw power with a superstar development, and he could become a top guy in the right system and with the right user. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Jags.
So the Jags, the wasted guy, I actually kind of got this from your league report last week, was Jonathan Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, 96 speed, his agility acceleration could do to low work, but with the 96 speed, he kind of makes up for it, and he's really solid all around. Good juke, good spin, good elusiveness. Everything else is mid 80s. He's really solid. And with kind of Leonard Fournette finally turning it on, figuring it out, he just really hasn't been getting many. He just hasn't been touching the field much. 7 downs played, 3 downs played, 10 downs played this week. So he's not really seeing the field with Fournette's success.
Oh yeah, 100% agree on that. Great stats. He was a first round pick as well. So, Jonathan Taylor could be a force in somebody else's hands, but he doesn't fit what the Jaguars likes to do as far as the running game. He has 69 trucking compared to Leonard Fournette, who has 96. So, when he's running with Leonard Fournette, he's probably loving it. So, Jonathan Taylor, 100%. I would have loved to have him. I would have took him over Bryce Love, but he could have been traded since he was a first round pick. Let's move on to the NFC East. We'll start with the Dallas Cowboys.
So for the Cowboys, the waste of talent I had again. These guys, a lot of guys are hard to find wasted talent. But I had Noah Fant. He's behind Kelvin Benjamin right now, who I know Anthony loves Kelvin Benjamin just because he's a real big target, and even though he's slow for everyone else at tight end, he's really solid. But Noah Fant has really good speed for tight end. He's still really young, and he has really good stats. So with a little bit of deving, which I'm sure he's deving him constantly, but with a little bit of deving, Noah Fant could be a top tight end in the league for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. My pick probably though would be Jermichael Hasty, who was being used while Zeke Elliott was injured. But ever since Zeke came back, he is now back riding the pine and doesn't see the field as much. And when he
Mhm.
was being used, he was pretty much on fire. I think he was top in the league. Well, towards the top in the league in yardage. But ever since Zeke Elliott came back, he's just disappeared. I mean, he's averaging almost 8 yards a carry. So it's like somebody else could kind of use that type of guy compared or use a Zeke like one of these guys. And I think Jermichael Hasty's probably the wasted talent, just buried behind a Zeke Elliott.
Yeah, I know he loves Hasty. He killed me in preseason with Hasty.
Yeah, Hasty's a beast. Um, Hopefully, I don't know if he wants to trade a Zeke and keep Hasty, or he wants to trade Hasty because I think he could get some real value for him. Philadelphia Eagles.
The wasted talent, I had Travis Etienne. I don't know how to say his name. Don't care. Running back behind. 'Cause when you think of the Eagles, you think of Hurd and McLaurin. But Etienne, I don't know, Etienne, whatever his name is, 95 speed, 93 agility, 91 XL, and solid stats behind that, 83 juke, low to high 70s, low 80s for us as stats, but he could easily be devved. He's still really young, 22, and with that 95 speed, is he could be. I don't know how Eagles find these guys, but he just has a team of just freaks.
He really does. He does a good job drafting, for sure. Somebody that might be underutilized based on how he's usually utilized is Terry McLaurin. Usually tops in the league in yardage. Took a lot of heat for running him on streaks so much. But I think he could still be used in different situations, and I think he could be tops in the league in receiving without just running him on streaks all the time. But I think he
I think
just,
he's almost. I
Go
think he's
ahead.
almost nervous to throw just because he doesn't want to get him suspended again. Like he doesn't want like a big controversy again. I think he's almost scared to throw to him.
I could see him once it comes into the playoffs. I could see him just unleashing Terry McLaurin all playoffs and not really worrying about a suspension.
I can see that.
Maybe that's his plan. Just get there, get into the playoffs, and then once you get into the playoffs, unleash the beast.
Yep.
All right, let's take a look at the next team. We're gonna take a look at the Washington Redskins.
Let's see. Skins. I had wasted was Daron Payne. I know he didn't draft him. He was in the game when he was drafted, but 24 years old, 80 overall, quick dev, and he has 97 strength, 88 block shed, 86 excel, 78 power moves. For being on a roster for 3 years, we didn't really have a user,
Yeah.
but Daron Payne could be a beast right now if he was devved. And he just wasn't devved for so long without a user. But even now, the last few weeks, he hasn't been getting that many snaps, 11 snaps, 19, 23. Like, he hasn't been getting a ton of snaps for someone who has really high potential, I would say.
Yeah, he. I think somebody was trying to get him at one point. They were complaining how they trade didn't go through for him, but Darren Payne, given his raw ability, I think he could be used a lot more. I'm gonna stick with the defensive side, and I'm gonna say Troy Apk. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his last name, but uh, 94 speed, 95 acceleration, 93 agility. Pretty solid zone coverage, and I don't think he uses them that much because I think he's kind of stacked at corner as far as having good speed all around.
Yeah, I feel like, especially lately, there's been a lot of like high speed corners that
Mm.
don't have really good stats, so it's just hard to dev unless you have the content king who's getting Jamal Dean up to like a really solid player. It's hard to get these guys up.
Oh man, I love Jamel Dean. um, yes, like you gotta really do content and build these some of these guys. Especially since corner doesn't get a lot of stats to really, unless they're a superstar or a star and you get a good development trait, then it's tough to really build them because, you're not user in a corner and getting 15 picks with them. It's much easier to develop a linebacker like somebody like Green Bay who did it with what's his face? I forgot his name already. Oren Burks.
Burks.
Yeah, Oren
Yeah.
Burks. Um, it's a little easier there, but the corner's a little tougher. That's why you have to build through content. Speaking
Definitely.
of Jamel Dean, I'm thinking I wouldn't be upset if I get the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last season for Madden 20 because they drafted both Devin White and Jamel Dean. So I mean, I'd pretty much be home with that team.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the Giants now.
Um, for the Giants, I had my wasted talent is Marquise Hollywood Brown. Um, we haven't really had a Giants user this year, but I know Marquise Brown was drafted pretty high in the first thing, like top 15 maybe.
Hmm.
Um, just off of his what was supposed to be, he was supposed to be a really good guy, but really good player out of the draft. He was kind of disappointed with some of the stats, but he still got a star dev. And he has really solid stats all around, especially for someone so young. He could, especially with the dev, he could be a developed in a really solid receiver, but it looks like he just hasn't been used the last few games. Let's see, he
He
just hasn't had any catches at all in the past
he
3 games.
he hasn't had a catch all season.
Exactly.
He
So,
hasn't had a catch all season,
um,
so that's 100% a misusage of talent. Um, I kind of put blame on the new Giants user. Then I also put blame on him. I don't put blame on him because you come into a team, you're trying to figure it out. So maybe that, but you see Marquise Brown with that speed, that acceleration, and that development trait. You got to play him. You can't have him sitting on the bench.
100%.
Let's take a look at the NFC West now. We're going to start with the 49ers.
So let's see, the 49ers. I had the wasted talent is George Kittle. Um, he's not as good in Madden as he is in real life. In real life, he was tearing up this year, but he's still really solid, especially with tight end.
Hmm.
6'4" with 87 speed, 88 agility, or 80 acceleration. I'm sorry. That's insane for tight ends, and he has a solid catching stats back it up for a tight end at least. And he is almost not used at all. Gets maybe a catch or two a game in his offense, which is working for him. But I think on most teams, he would be a top receiving threat.
Yeah, that's a great pick. Along with, I would say, Jimmy Garoppolo, who would be a starter pretty much on any other team. But when you draft Trevor Lawrence, you really don't have a choice. You got to play Trevor Lawrence. But George Kittle's a great choice there, and you could even go another offensive weapon not being used is Tyree Cleveland, who's got great speed. I think let's take a look. He's got great speed, great jumping ability. So he's definitely somebody that could be used in somebody else's offense where he could be a problem. Let's take a look at the.
Okay, let's see. Seattle. I had wasted was Connie Taylor. I don't remember who that is. I gotta look. I think Hawk is another guy who doesn't really waste talent,
Yeah,
but it's hard to find someone who just being wasted on this team. So, oh yeah, so he's a middle linebacker, which another middle linebacker, but another just insane stats: 89 speed, 90 excel, 80 agility with 85 hit power. Obviously he mainly uses Shaquem Griffin, and that linebacking core is already pretty stacked enough with Shaquem Griffin, Bobby Wagner, and they have Jatavius Brown and another young player with David Long. But I mean, I guess you can never you could trade someone and get some value there at least instead of him just sitting at the bottom of the depth chart.
yeah. It's you said Connor Taylor, correct?
Yeah, middle
Yeah,
linebacker,
yeah.
or
Great
outside linebacker.
speed. Um, I mean, he plays, but not as much as probably some of the other guys. He has 3 interceptions probably in limited time. If he was used a lot more, that stat line could be a lot higher. I think he tried to move Bobby Wagner. I think both the Browns and him tried to agreed on a trade for Bobby Wagner, so maybe that was his idea to use Connor Taylor a lot more. But when you have Bobby Wagner, it's kind of tough to say, "Oh, I'm gonna sit Bobby Wagner for a 72 overall." But
Right.
that's somebody that could definitely make noise on a different squad. Let's take a look at the. Let's take a look at the. We'll go with the Los Angeles Rams.
Let's see. The Rams, he didn't have, again, he was one of the guys like Texans who didn't have a ton of depth. He
Not
had
a
a lot of
great
top,
team builder over there in
yeah.
Key.
I think some of
He
that's
smokes
not,
too much weed.
yeah, definitely. Some of that I don't think is completely his fault just because how the Rams have situated themselves in real life.
Yeah.
Um, but I had um Dalton Reisner just because with how valuable um O-line is in this league, uh he has Rob Havenstein ever also at right tackle. So I'm not sure if in the depth chart he has Dalton Reisner playing on the other side or something, but at least in the depth chart, Rob Havenstein or Havenstein is ahead of him. So I just thought he could move on them and get a ton of value just because of how valuable. And across his whole offensive line, he has a guy like that. On the left side, he has Lewan, so he must be if he's playing them all, which it looks like it is, I just checked. He must be playing them at guard, someone at guard. Walker Little, he's not getting any time, or he is too. Damn, bro, he how does he not have 1,000 rushing yards like in one game?
Yeah,
uh,
I don't.
but yeah, he doesn't have a ton of depth, but I guess I don't
Yeah,
know. I'm just gonna stick with that.
he's tough. The Rams as the user trying to figure out a wasted talent because he doesn't have a lot of depth. Um, Trying to figure out somebody. Maybe let's go. Let's go to quarterback. Who's Yeah, he doesn't even have like a backup quarterback you could choose. He's definitely a tough one to choose. I'm gonna stick with what you said as far as that offensive line. Um, yeah, there's nobody else. So this one's a tough one.
Yeah.
Maybe Aaron Donald. How is he performing this season? Let me take a look at Aaron Donald's stats. He has 15 sacks, so he's not having a terrible year. Yeah, this one's a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna stick with that. Maybe Brian Burns, the defensive end, who's got pretty good pass rushing moves. With Michael Brockers in his way, maybe he's underutilized a bit. He seems to have good pass rushing moves, good pursuit, pretty good stats. But like you said, it's this one's a tough one. Let's go ahead and move on to the next team. We'll move on to the Arizona Cardinals.
I had Christian Kirk. Um, again, just because he's stuck in a really crowded wide receiver room, but he has pretty solid stats. He's a little smaller, but not that much smaller. But you got 91 speed, 92 excel, 91 agility, and then uh, low to mid 80s for pretty much all stats. And then he's really good in the open field if he gets the ball. 88 juke move, 84 spin, 85 elusiveness. So if you can get in the ball, and he just seems to not get any catches in this offense. And then I did have someone else. I don't remember what position he played.
What's the name?
Uh, oh, never mind. I Quentin Williams. Um,
Yep, yep.
Quentin Williams, obviously, everyone knows him. Number one pick in the draft, or number two pick in the draft this year. Um, he's behind Kindici, who was picked a couple years back, but he has star dev and he has let's see, 96 strength, 84 power move, 76 block shed. He could be a real problem if he's dead well. He's only missed one season under his belt, so I guess it's a little too early to judge, but he could be if he's dead correctly, he'd be a real problem.
Yeah, and my choice on that defensive side would probably be Chandler Jones. Um, Given his ability, that reminds me somebody that's probably underused in my system is probably Trey Flowers as well. But Chandler Jones got 94 power moves. He's only got 5 sacks on the season, so maybe this is another one where he's not really using him correctly. Throwing on aggressive pass rush when it's third and long and letting him feast a little bit on the quarterback. I think in a different system he could really be a problem as an end to really get to the quarterback.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
let's take a look at the next squad, and it's going to be in the NFC North, I believe. We'll take a look at the Minnesota Vikings.
So the Vikings,
The Mutt Squad.
I had wasted was Josh Jacobs. He kind of cycled through a bunch of running backs and quarterbacks and receivers. Josh Jacobs, I know I'm not sure how high he drafted him, but he has really good physical stats, 96 speed, which you think he would love that. Vikings love that. And then 84 juke, 81 spin, 82 looseness. So it's just solid around stats, but um he didn't really crowd the room again. He just traded for Devonta Freeman. He got Sony Michelle, and then Jacob Copeland too, who I think was a free agent signing. He drafted him. Just a really crowded room, so he doesn't get a lot of touches, and he could be another guy similar to TBJ, honestly. With that speed, he doesn't have the best acceleration and agility like TBJ, um, but yeah, I think he just falls victim to a crowded room.
Yeah, I would agree with Copeland. He actually traded for Josh Jacobs with the Denver Broncos, who already has Jordan Scarlett. Josh Jacobs was pretty much a backup, and he got Josh Jacobs, and he's been using him regularly. But when he's traded for Devontae Freeman, he kind of splits the time a little bit. Copeland's a good pick. Great athletic ability. Um, and somebody that could probably be a problem on a different team. And my pick, though, would probably be Kyle Rudolph, who I think could still play a bit, but he doesn't really utilize him because he's got the German athlete behind him that he likes to use. But Kyle Rudolph only has one catch for 9 yards. He's still pretty good to make a little bit more of an impact on a game. But he likes his speed and he likes his athletic ability. So